So if you're anything like me, you're super into these climbing benchmarks, which, if they're a good, accurate representation of your climbing ability, it can be really nice to measure your progress month over month, especially if you kind of live in an area where it's hard to get outside all the time, all year round. And you might have just trained these benchmarks and kind of cut back on climbing. That's at least a mistake I've made in my past. I've been really into like doing the one arm pull up or hanging with X amount of weight off of like a 20 mil edge. And personally, I didn't really see this translate too well to my climbing, but I think that's because I dialed back my actual climbing in my sessions too much, and I was kind of focused on just training these benchmarks. I do think these benchmarks can be a pretty good way to identify weaknesses that you might not already be aware of. So this will be the first video of a series that I might do like seasonal or like check-ins every 6 months to benchmark myself and identify my weaknesses and train against those weaknesses, not training just for these benchmarks, but doing a lot of climbing training, on the wall training for these weaknesses, and basically measure maybe every 6 months or so my progression through climbing and my progression through these benchmarks. For context, my max bouldering grade is I've done one V11 outside, like two V10s and a handful of 9s. So I'll show you guys where I'm at today. Start feeling in the shoulders a little bit, but the fingers feel good, so 50 minutes. Alright, that feels pretty close to max, maybe 5 pounds more. I'll try 5 pounds more, but that was hard. I was actually able to do the 55 pounds on the 10 mil edge, but forgot to get footage of it. Alright, Beastmaker, 2K, middle edge. Let's see how this goes. Right arm's much better. big toe. So how far can I get? Try to stay straight. So, oh, that feels pretty max. 64 inches. Oh. All right. These benchmarks, my finger strength seems good, but not really like a strength of my climbing. And everybody always wants stronger fingers. I would like them to be like a strength rather than just kind of like average for my grade. So I do want to focus on fingers a little more. What's super interesting through this process was my full crimp is super weak. So I didn't get a video of that, but I can barely hang body weight on the 10 mil edge. I think if I'm full crimping, I think I can only do it for like a couple seconds. So my biggest point is basically familiarize myself with the full crimp position a little more, and just get it to the point where it feels just as comfortable on a 10 mil edge as the half crimp. I don't necessarily think I've tried training the one arm pull up in the past. I don't really see that translating well to my climbing, so that's not something that I'm super interested in. I just kind of was curious where I am with that right now. Campus boarding, I think I'm quite weak. My pull through strength is lacking, so that's one thing I really want to train. And then mobility, hip mobility for me is also really lacking. So going into the fall season, I think those are the biggest few points that I want to train. But for the hip mobility stuff, I've kind of known that. So I'll probably do like a winter check-in, see where I'm at with these benchmarks, and see how I felt on the wall doing a bunch of climbing in the fall.